Hello, my name is Wildstag, and this is my channel for reviewing books I find at used bookstores. Today's book is called Wild to the Heart. I'm trying to get a good picture of it there. Wild to the Heart I found at Reston's used bookshop. I'll hold up a piece of their bookmark here. See if I can get it in focus enough. This bookstore was the first used bookstore I visited when I was living in Fairfax, Virginia. It's a really good place to go. It's kind of small, but it's really nice. This book, Wild to the Heart, is the first one that really captured me for making me fall in love with that bookstore as well as this book. This author, Rick Bass. Rick Bass has a very stream of conscious and charming style of writing. It's the kind of writing style that you can really self-insert yourself because he is very, very good at writing his thoughts and pulling you into his memory. These are all essays and short stories. I don't believe they were really published elsewhere, but Rick Bass generally publishes his short stories and essays to magazines like Backpacker and outdoors recreation oriented places. I'm going to read now the first page from the first chapter, which is Shortest Route to the Mountains. The first page is about half a paragraph worth of memory, and then I'm also going to read the last paragraph of it, just to give you guys a good idea of what this guy writes like. And it's something I really enjoy. The trouble with buying a strawberry milkshake from the Lake Providence, Louisiana, Sonic Drive-In on the left side of Highway 65 going north through the Delta north to Hot Springs, Arkansas, is that you have got to tag the bottom with your straw and then come up a good inch or so if you want to get anything. The reason being that the Lake Providence Sonic uses real strawberries and lots of them in their shakes. You stick your straw down to the bottom the way you do with other shakes, and you won't get anything. Your straw gets mired and plugged up in an inch or so of fresh cut strawberries. So to get the actual shake itself moving up the straw and into your mouth, you've got to raise the straw an inch off bottom, sometimes more, depending on who made the shake. If you've got time to kill, the best thing to do is to pull into the parking lot under the shade of the big live oak that sprawls over and cools all of the Lake Providence First Baptist Church and most of Highway 65 as well. That was the first paragraph. I'm going to read now the last paragraph. Twilight, almost dark, and every small town radio station in the South can be picked up now under the cover of darkness. You reach the outskirts of Hot Springs 3 hours later, where, bone-weary and bleary-eyed, you pull off the road to nap for a couple of hours before starting up again. You fall asleep, dreaming summertime dreams of a girl you knew in high school a long time ago. This time tomorrow, you will be in the mountains. It is not the fastest route to the mountains, but it is the shortest. This style of narration is just so engaging and funny in a way. That bit he gets on about the strawberries and how, most places there's not an inch of fresh cut strawberries at the bottom is just so funny. It's like a travelogue, but at the same time it's not. It's a particular memory of his traveling from home to the mountains in Arkansas. And throughout the chapter, throughout the work, what he does is he points out the places, the towns, the small towns he passes, and how they all have population signs next to them. And he lists off a couple in rapid fire, in quick succession. Rick Bass is a nature writer, but he's kind of more of a journalist, a memoir journalist, a travel journalist at times than he is nature. I'm going to read from the chapter that really pulled me into this book, though. It's one that, when I read it, made me want to live fully in New Mexico. I'd already had family here. I'd already considered this place as a place I wanted to live in. But there's an adventure in this book that I haven't quite fulfilled, but I want to do on my own. And this one is titled On Camp Robbers, Rock Swifts, and Other Things Wild to the Heart. It starts on July 4th, 1981. He lives in Jackson, Mississippi, by the way. So the paragraph opens, "I've been waiting a long time for this. Jackson, Mississippi is the best place for me to make a living, but there's this one small problem. There are no mountains. There aren't even any aspen." The Pecos Wilderness area, on the other hand, located 15 beautiful miles up a winding canyon just west of the sleepy and beautiful little mountain town of Las Vegas, New Mexico, has plenty of both. That's why I'm here, to drink in the mountains and the aspen for a brief 2-day 4th of July vacation. I left Jackson at noon Thursday, after managing to talk the boss into letting me come into work early that day, 4 a.m., so I could have my 8 hours in by noon. I'm due back in the office at 9 o'clock Monday, but I probably could hold off till 9:15 and still sneak in without being labeled tardy, since everyone tends to linger in the coffee room a few extra minutes on Monday mornings. By driving straight through, both ways averaging 54 miles per hour and stopping only for gas, it is an 18-hour drive each way, excluding the Texas-New Mexico time change. So he's taking, on a 3-day weekend from Mississippi, a trip up to Las Vegas, New Mexico, and where he ends up going is Hermit's Peak. There's a possessive on the name. And it's a mountain I've been to and I've seen in the distance. Hermit's Peak is the easternmost peak on a ridgeline, the southeasternmost peak, I believe. And it's just a cliff face, a abrupt and steep climb to the peak. And in the distance, it's just a wall of stone. And what's notable about it is that it's kind of the southeasternmost mountain in that area. So what it gives you is a beautiful view of eastern New Mexico, what is sometimes called Little Texas. And that's kind of what he's there for. So he ends up at the mountain. He ends up stopping at his grandparents' place along the way and having homemade biscuits with them. You know, it's an 18-hour drive. He needs to stop along the way somewhere. And the fact that he stops at his grandparents' place and makes a little memory of it is really sweet. And he drives up there, and the evening of July 4th, he's on the mountain. And in the morning of July 5th, he watches the sunrise from the southeasternmost mountains in that chain, that ridge. And he sits there and waits. And as the sun rises, Watching the sunrise from any mountain is a special moment. At a job I used to work at, we used to take groups of people up to Mount Taylor, just north of Grants, New Mexico. And we'd do a sunrise summit of it, 11,000 feet high, a bit taller than that actually. And you would watch the sun rise above the Sandias in the distance and illuminate the Rio Grande Valley. And if you turned around behind you, you could see the shadow, the very sharply triangular shadow of the mountain, Mount Taylor, over Grants, New Mexico, and the plains below. And so what he's doing here is he's got a whole story of that, basically. He took time, a 4-day weekend, just so that he could go out there and experience the sunrise in the mountains. It's a beautiful experience. And this, I've never been to Hermit's Peak and done a sunrise summit, but his narration makes me want to. And that's what's magical about this book. A lot of these stories are ones that make you want to do them, go on these adventures later. And that's very powerful writing. And it's the kind of writing that I really love. I love the mountains, and I love reading about people's adventures in mountains. And I love being outdoors, and being outdoors with friends and family, socializing in the outdoors. And that's the kind of stuff I like reading about. Wild to the Heart, I bought for half price, so the back it lists it $12 USA, and I bought it for $6. And since then I've read it several times. It's got an old enough, I guess it was published in 87. It's got, testimonials, I don't know what they're called, the statements by other writers on this guy's writing. And as a badge of honor, almost, to have been alive during Edward Abbey's life and to have been a good enough writer that Edward Abbey praises you, that's kind of seen as a badge of honor among a lot of people in the outdoor industry, especially in the older generation. Specifically, what he has to say is, Rick Bass is a lively, alert, fully engaged writer with something to say, and he says it good. It's a really fun book to read. And if you find it in a used bookstore, all power to you. And if you decide you want to buy it new, it's only $12. It might be more expensive now, but according to the back of the printing, it's $12. So share your favorite, if you do buy it, share your favorite story from it. I'd love to hear it. My name is Wild Stag, and this is a used book review. Thank you.